Hey guys, you see this? This is a Zoom recorder. What this does is it acts as a backup for when our laptop takes a crap recording the Smoking Tire podcast. The Smoking Tire podcast. That's what I'm saying. We do a podcast right here in this studio. It's a 90-minute show every week. It's really fun. We've got guests from all over the industry, automotive journalists, industry leaders, racing drivers, celebrities, and more. And the guy behind the camera, that's Zach. He's on the podcast too, and he's funny. And if our computer fails, we have our Zoom recorder to back it up. That's what it's about. Search it on iTunes or shoutengine.com/thesmokingtire or click the link in the description. Hey guys, welcome to the Angeles Forest, and before we get started with the all-new Aston Martin DB11, I want to talk to you real quick about Vincero watches. You see, I recently did a commercial advertising vintage Rolexes, which are pimp as hell, but not really realistic for most people. The guys at Vincero come from the watch industry, and they wanted to create bold, big, powerful design watches at an affordable price. Because of their experience in the watch industry before, they can bring you a really high quality watch at a price that is more down to earth for most normal people. It's surgical grade steel with a citizen quartz movement. It's water resistant to 5 atmospheres, and it's a nice big bold face at 43 millimeters with glow in the dark hands and a variety of different colors, bands, and even this one has a working chronograph. It's actually quite a nice watch, and for the price point, I'm pretty impressed with the quality of it. So I'm going to hang on to this one for now. So thanks to Vincero for sending that over, and if that looks pretty cool to you, click the link in the description and check one out on your own. So the Aston Martin DB11. It is no secret that I am a fan of Aston Martins, even if I've not disagreed with every one of their decisions in building cars. The DB11 is all new. It's a new chassis, a new platform even, not the same VH architecture we've seen for the last, 12, 13 years. By doing a completely new construction, they are able to improve chassis rigidity while also improving cabin space. So this is, I believe, the roomiest Aston Martin of modern times. Under the hood is a 5.2-liter twin-turbo V12 with 600 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. It's an Aston Martin designed engine, or so they say. It's not one of their new AMG partnership motors. That goes to an 8-speed gearbox, and of course it is rear-wheel drive. This thing weighs just over 3,900 pounds, which sounds heavy until you think about the fact that my 2003 Vanquish, which was the first Aston Martin to feature carbon fiber bodywork, is actually 4,600 pounds. So they are going in the right direction, and this now has a twin-turbo V12 in something that weighs just barely more than, let's say, a Camaro with an NA V8. So, about that, let's see how she drives. Let me first say what a welcome addition turbochargers are to Aston's corporate modified V12. The power band is extremely wide, and whereas these motors made quite a bit of torque without the turbos, it was at a very high power band, and we're now able to get a nice big mid-range and a nice torque shove off the line thanks to those turbos. Sorry about my water. Here we go. Okay, the ZF gearbox. It is the 8-speed. It is the same 8-speed you get in the Vanquish, and it's the same 8-speed we've seen in other applications all over the automotive universe. I will say this. The tuning of it isn't great. Here's the deal. So, it has an adaptive suspension, and it has different modes for your powertrain. Both of those are accessible through simple buttons on the steering wheel. 3 modes: GT, Sport, Sport Plus, right? For most cases, soft suspension with Sport Plus powertrain is the way to go. And I say that because Sport Plus isn't that overly harsh, and Sport Plus is the only way to put the car in loud mode. The only way. And that is going to be important. So I was in comfort suspension. We're going to go into Sport Plus suspension here too. It's the only way to put the car in loud mode, which is a problem because unless you're at the top of the power band, the gearbox doesn't shift correctly. It shifts like a surgy. Like, for instance, we're going to go slower. So I'm going to shift at the lower part of the power band, and the faster you go, the smoother it shifts, right? It also shifts smooth in GT mode, but then it's quiet. So you follow me? So the one thing I want, smooth shifting, loud, and soft suspension, you can't get all at once, which is frustrating. And we're probably going to have to pull over because I don't see this truck moving out of my way. And that's okay, unless he does. Will he? Will he? Prayers and not answered. Prayers not answered. While I look for a place to pull over, let's discuss the interior. Oh, no, there we go. Thank you, sir. And we're off. Now we can discuss the interior while moving. It's very comfortable, as I said before, quite spacious, the most spacious I've seen in an Aston. I can get the seat nice down low in the cockpit, which I like. It makes me feel like I'm in a WRC car. The seat itself is quite comfortable, nothing fancy and advanced like the Mercedes, 87-way adjustable seats, but comfortable, man. I've spent some time in this car, and I really do like the shape and the feel of the seat. Now, once you start getting going quick, here's what's crazy. The DB9 that this car replaced was not a dancer. It was a highway tourer, beautiful car, sounded nice, not a dancer. This one is a dancer, which is not something I expected. Even at 3,900 pounds, even with 12 cylinders and turbos up front, the steering is direct, it's light, it corners flat, the Bridgestone tires are communicative. I just got a little bit of squealiness there. And the 516 pounds of torque are available over a very wide section of power band, giving you a really useful rev range. Wow. It really has dual characters, this car, because on the one hand, it is such a comfy GT car, and on the other hand, it has actual capability, which is really not something I expected. You know, even that V12 Vantage S, which I just had, was really best served at 8/10ths. And this is something that is encouraging me to go quicker. Now, before I get myself into trouble, the interior, we'll continue on the interior. Some people are complaining about the tumble home center console, saying it's ugly. I don't think it's ugly, but I really do wish they hadn't used the touch buttons. They were good in the Vanquish because they had the outlines around them, so you could see where your finger was going. These are harder to find and poke, and so I'm not a fan. I'm also not really a fan of the carbon, they call it cracked carbon trim on the doors. I don't know if anyone has ever succeeded in making an expensive material look quite as cheap and cheesy as Aston has done here. This is expensive carbon in this dash, and it looks like the Formica bar top in a Caesar's Palace hotel room. Any other finish would be fine there, and I'm sure Aston would be more than happy to let you choose any number of finishes. So that's really my gripe. That carbon fiber, which I don't like, and the touch buttons. The rest of the interior is quite lovely. Oh, I do have one more thing. The digital gauges. I know digital gauges are the rage. They're flexible. They are inexpensive, which allows you to move your resources into other potentially more important things. However, Aston Martin's gauges, with the exception of Pagani, were always just about the closest you could get to jewelry. And this car, for all of its advancements over other older Astons, it still feels like sort of an analog old school formula. I think that's just the way Astons are going to be. And that's fine and everything, but a digital gauge and a ZF8 speed gearbox and a touchscreen infotainment makes me think that Aston is trying to be cutting edge. And the problem is, Aston just can't be cutting edge. They don't have the resources. They need to really embrace that old schoolness that makes Astons what they are, and not having those watch-like, Vincero watch-like, if you were, gauges to look at is a little disappointing. The LCD gauges work fine. They're clear, they get the job done, but I've always looked for a little more than get the job done when we're talking about Aston Martin gauges. Getting the brakes a little warm. I will say that the strength, this car's strengths are in its chassis, its steering, its ride quality, certainly the soundtrack, the horsepower. Its weaknesses are the modernization of Aston in ways that I don't find as charming as I wish I did. Hello, Factory 5818. We have another video of that. You know, it's the best car they've ever made, probably, right? It's the most rigid, it's the most powerful, except for the 177, and yet it is the least handmade feeling. It's the least charmingly flawed. It's the least delightfully old school. It's the least, you know, of the characterful Astons. And so to that end, I find that I am not making a connection with it the way I've made with other Astons. I don't want to be friends with it. I don't feel a flawed, personal, yet purposeful relationship. I don't feel like it's a pet that wants to please me in an imperfect way. I feel like it's a phenomenal daily driver and a beautiful car, but I'm not attached to it. I'm not gonna miss it when it's gone, and that's strange to me. And so it's a new feeling I'm not used to. But objectively speaking, this is a stunning car. Objectively speaking, this is a fast car and a great handling car and a well-made car, and a car that if you look at it and go, yes, then when you drive it, the rest of you will probably agree with your initial impression. It's amazing how related it feels to my old Aston in a lot of ways, and yet how it does try to bring the future in, but I feel it's sad that it's missing some of that old school charm. So thank you to Aston Martin, who let me have this car for 4 days to do this review, and of course, you know, AstonMartin.com, or if you wanna buy one for yourself, they're coming out. The color choices, the interior choices are pretty crazy. You can customize these things pretty good, and of course, finally they've gotten away from the Volvo sat-nav. It's Mercedes now, and so that's that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.